In the movie The Shining, we always see Jack referred to as the caretaker. This is the job he interviews for, the position he accepts. Even Grady's ghost refers to him as the caretaker. But in reality, Jack is not the caretaker. Wendy is. Throughout the film, we see Jack treat the entire trip as though it's some kind of writer's retreat. He locks himself up in his self-proclaimed office and just ignores everything. He ignores his family as well as his duties that he's supposed to have as the caretaker. During this, Wendy's still trying to make him as comfortable as possible. She's making his meals as well as bringing him breakfast in bed. And while she does all of this, she gets no help in taking care of their son. She feeds Danny, teaches him, exercises with him, talks with him, keeps him company, checks on his mental health, and protects him. And all while she's cooking, cleaning, rationing the food, keeping up on the phone lines, as well as learning how to communicate on the radio so that they're safe if there's a storm. There's one job that Jack should be doing. Arguably, it's the entire reason they're there to begin with, and it's maintaining the boiler all throughout the winter. And who does it? It's Wendy. And I think making Wendy do all the work in the film was very intentional, because that's not the case in the book. In the book, Jack does keep up on the boiler and other things around the property. But Kubrick very intentionally changed this in the film. I think he wanted to point out this invisible labor of women and bring attention to it, but it was still invisible to society, so people missed it. She's running the entire place by herself while taking care of the family, and when she tries to connect with her husband, who's been cosplaying as a writer, he snaps at her, he tears up his papers, and he tries to blame her for his failures. Now, this wasn't because she actually did something wrong, it's because he's a failure and he blames all of those failures on her. And this is a reoccurring thing with Jack's character. He blames external factors for his bad life choices. He knows deep down that he is a failure as a father, as a husband, as a family protector, and he's failing at doing his job. He makes Wendy do his labor, and he's become so used to it that it's invisible to him. He feels entitled to the things she does as though she's his personal slave. And when he thinks that she's stepped out of line, he thinks he gets to hurt her. And same with his son. That's why the ghosts were able to convince Jack so quickly to even hurt his family. You don't hurt your family unless you're a bad person. Because let's be honest, it was a little too easy to convince Jack to take out his family. He was already on the edge of it. I think the ghosts were even shocked how quickly he got to wanting to annihilate his whole family. But that's because Jack isn't under the influence of ghosts. He used these things as an excuse. He wants to annihilate his family because ghosts are making him. He wanted to abuse his family because the alcohol made him. He told Danny on their car trip, "Tough luck that you're hungry, you should have eaten your breakfast." He's not feeding his child when he's hungry and then blames him for not being prepared. He's a child. Just like how when he broke Danny's arm, it was because Danny had moved around his papers. He's a child, don't leave your stuff out. And he could use these excuses when he hurts his wife and child. He needs excuses so that he can blame his terrible behaviors on something besides himself, to convince himself into thinking that his crimes against his family, the crimes Grady committed against his, that they were because of external factors. But Jack knows deep down his failures are his own, so he externalizes them onto his wife and son. While he was ignoring his wife and son, they grew and became better than him, and he didn't even realize. He had receded so much from his own family that they no longer needed him because he offered nothing in return but pain for the things that they gave him in their love. So his wife and son became self-sufficient. Wendy and Danny were able to find happiness in their day-to-day life, and Jack couldn't, and this killed him inside, and he hated that and resented them for it. Jack realized that he wasn't the caretaker of the hotel or his family. He isn't a writer, he's nothing. Because when you recede from the world, it recedes from you. And like so many weak men do, when he had nothing left, he resorted to physically overpowering his family because he was bigger and stronger than them. And he couldn't even do that. His wife beat him like an old dusty rug. Because they had been surviving Jack for so long, she was always waiting to protect herself on some level. And when he realized he was bested by his wife in every way, then he sank even more into his cowardice, and he tried to take out his son, but was outsmarted by a 6-year-old. And that's because Jack had been sitting still in time. He no longer wanted to grow, and his family had far surpassed him in every single way. Jack was strong enough to fight it, but he chose not to. He had given up his life, and when he lost everything, he was gone, frozen in time as that terrible person forever, alone. This happens to a lot of men. They treat their wives or their partner as a slave that's expected to uphold their lives as they role play as a professional, while they're really asleep on the job, in their real life as well as their role as a partner, a parent, and a protector. It's dangerous to make excuses for bad behavior. We all are capable of being the best or the worst versions of ourselves, and we have to make that choice to grow every single day. And I think this movie also really highlights the invisible labor of women. Like how a lot of times parenting is left up to the mother, how they're expected to take care of the home, but then they still end up working. And so you have these people who are doing double duty, and a lot of successful men who say that they did everything on their own, ignoring the fact that they had a partner who was supporting them all throughout that, and that their accomplishments are only half of their accomplishments on their own. I had originally made a TikTok video about this, and then somebody sent me a Twitter article about the same thing I was talking about in my TikTok, and they thought this person had stolen the article from me. And when I researched it, I found they had actually posted it 2 to 3 days before my video, but I never saw their post. And I'm thinking that this is a sign that this invisible labor of women is starting to float into our conscious mind, and we're starting to see this. And it's important because we should give people the recognition they deserve and realize that some people are working way harder. And I hope that women's contributions become more visible to society, because for far too long, it's gone underappreciated. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell. It all really helps the channel. If you want exclusive content, check out my members only profile here on YouTube, or you can check me out on Patreon. So my primary platform is over on TikTok, so check me out there where I post multiple times a week and go live with gaming. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.